3, 2, 1.
What is up, everybody? This is Drew, and
this is Brad,
and you are listening to another stellar episode of the Unidentified Flying Podcast. Today's the Battle of the Titans, man. Batman versus Superman.
Movie's coming out
this week. We're going to talk a lot about comic book movies, comic books, this particular movie. But this week, we're on the move again, on location, with a new guest, listener to the podcast. This is Ryan, and we are currently in Ryan's garage. So, Ryan, say hello to everybody.
Hey, everybody.
All right. And so, apparently, Ryan is a Batman aficionado. Maybe even a Superman aficionado. We'll see. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not, so...
I said ahead of time, I have limited knowledge on the subject, but I am more than happy to share such limited knowledge.
That's what we're looking for.
I am easily fooled, so that'll work. Any follow-up from last week's episode?
No,
Okay.
We're kind of taping these out of order from what we're actually going to release them, so no biggie.
Okay.
As far as the following up stuff, so we're just going to dive right in, I guess.
Okay. Well, forgot it last time.
First contact. This is if you guys want to get in touch with us, send us any sort of critiques, hate mail, advice, whatever. I don't listen to any of it anyway, so ufppodcast@gmail.com, at UFP on Twitter, and Unidentified Flying Podcast on Facebook. And I think that's it. So, yeah. All right, so where do we want to start here? I mean, movie's coming out, this week? Yes.
I think.
Yeah,
so,
when we release this, it will be this week.
I mean, do you want to... Before we get into the movie, the big thing with this movie is Batman and Superman. They're going toe-to-toe. So, when we talked about doing this podcast, I started thinking in my head... And it kind of lines up, nicely for me. I've always been more of a Marvel actual comic book fan.
Okay.
I never followed any DC comics, really. I collected X-Men comics back in the day when I was a kid. I collected Long Shot comics, stuff like that. Some Wolverine comics. I actually collected more Image comics than DC. I've never really got into DC. And it's not to say I've never read DC. Later on, I've read a lot of the graphic novels of some of these, collections. And the stuff that I've read, it almost always has Batman and Superman at odds. For instance, the Frank Miller comics, Dark Knight Returns, and The Dark Knight Strikes Again, which the thing I remember most from those is the fact that the art's bad. I can't stand the art in it, for one.
That's the Dark Knight comics?
Yeah, the Dark Knight Returns and the Dark Knight Strikes Again. It's just really, I'm sorry.
It's maybe really blocky and...
Yeah, it's just really, it looks like I could draw it. Yeah. So I'm kind of
You're not a fan.
Yeah, that stuff kind of throws me off, too, a lot of times when I try to get into one. And if the art isn't something that I can automatically this is awesome... It deters away from how much interest level I can put into it. The story's got to grab you right out the gate if the art isn't automatically appealing to you. And the Dark Knight is the Return stuff. I can relate with you on that.
Yeah, the art's for comic books, the art's half the story.
Yeah,
it's
what draws you to the shelf.
What you're looking at.
Sure. Yeah. It's what separates it from books.
Yeah.
If the art sucks, you might as well just be reading a book. You know what I mean? But anyway, so the Dark Knight Returns kind of has, both of these Frank Miller ones has an old, retired and coming out of retirement Batman. And, both times, he gets the better of Superman both times. Now, in both of those stories, Superman's kind of a lackey. He's not... He's I think in The Dark Knight Returns, he's actually kind of a U.S. government lackey. Yeah. He's kind of just doing the U.S. government's bidding.
Yeah, I wasn't real big on how he portrays Superman, kind of just as a government goon, essentially.
Yeah.
And really strips any kind of where you would want to connect and be like, and give you any reason to root for him. He writes against him, which, I mean, as a Batman fan, that's cool, but, like, I do like Superman. He's got some qualities to him that, when you really kind of strip it down, that makes it really entertaining, but this guy doesn't share that view, and he pushes that on you in a way forcibly.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good point. I mean, he writes against him, basically.
I've never read either one, but I know... I mean, what uses The Dark Knight? Is that what you're talking about? Dark Knight Returns?
Well, there's elements
like there's
of both
elements
of these
movies that are kind of based off.
The Dark Knight Returns is like, it's not like, it has stuff in common with the Christopher Nolan movies, but they're just kind of some cherry picked things that they grab from.
It's not verbatim.
Yeah, well, just about every adaptation movie wise, that's one of their troughs they go to, and they pull lines directly from that book.
And I think that's what they're doing with this Batman vs Superman too. They're grabbing some more stuff, probably from some of the actual. Because I don't know, if you look at the trailer for Batman vs Superman, it looks like Superman may be kind of Lex Luthor's lackey a little bit. It looks like Lex Luthor's got something on him, and he's kind of directing Superman around to some extent. So they may be taking, and that's actually in The Dark Knight Strikes Again, Lex Luthor, I believe, is impersonating the president, giving Superman orders. So Superman doesn't know he's working for Lex Luthor.
Of course he doesn't.
But he also has, like, I think that one, The Dark Knight Strikes Again, you have like the bottled city of Kandor, which is this, Brainiac has this, it's like the last city of the Kryptonians that's in a bottle, and he like holds it over Superman, like, you know, do what I say or I'm going to destroy this. And he's like, what you need to do is destroy the Batman. And so, you know, Superman's like, I got to destroy the Batman. And I think, you know, both times it's like, you know, if you guys haven't read, well, I know you've read one of them, not the other, and you haven't read either of them, so I don't want to ruin anything of them for you, or anybody listening either. But suffice it to say, in those two instances, Batman is able to get the better, essentially, of Superman. There might be a little help here, and there might be some hollow victories here, but overall, it seems like Batman's got Superman's number when he needs to have it. Now, there's some other comics that I haven't read. I kind of did some looking up on stuff, and apparently there's one, I think it's called like Red Sun, like S-O-N, and it's like if Superman had actually crashed in the Soviet Union instead of the United States. Yeah. And he like, I mean, I think it's that one. It may be a different one where he catches Batman like totally unprepared in the Batcave and just beats the fuck out of him. So, because I know a lot of people that probably aren't comic fans probably look at this and go, there's no contest. What do you mean Batman versus Superman? It's already over before it started. Superman wins.
And see, the people that go about it that way, you can tell, like, this is the fun of it. You know what I mean? This is your David and Goliath for the rest of us. You know, like, everybody underestimates this because you see it at its first value, but those same people don't know the depth of what, you know, the character of Batman is from its core.
Well, I tell him that's what's fun about Justice League. I mean, how many episodes of any Justice League or comic where it's like all these people with all these powers are in trouble and Batman's got to save their ass, and he's just some guy.
Yeah, and also toys. Batman. See, that's the cool thing about Batman. Batman's not the smartest person in the world, but Batman's like extremely smart. Batman's not the toughest person in the world, but he's extremely tough. He's not the best fighter in the world, but he may be. I don't know. He's a really badass, actual fighter. But my point being, Batman's really good at using Superman against himself because he knows Superman won't do certain things. He knows there's certain things that Superman has such high ideals that
he's the ultimate tactician.
Yeah, Batman knows I can use Superman's own sensibilities against him to gain an edge on him. Because I know Superman won't do this. I know Superman won't do that. So I mean, there's one where he I think there's a comic, they're like fighting underground, and I can't remember which one it is, but Batman's like, hey, I ruptured a gas main here. You can't use your laser vision or whatever.
I think that was Hush, maybe.
Was that? Okay. He's like, because
think.
if you do, you're going to level like a whole city block. And Superman's like, well played. So then the terms are Superman has to fight him up close. Well, Batman has like a kryptonite like ring or something. So he's just throwing haymakers at him. So he's like, yeah, I got you to get up close to me because, if you were anybody else, if you were the Joker would have been like, we're both dead, So, but he knows Superman won't do that.
That's where that infamous, deep down, Clark's a good person, and deep down, I'm not. That's where I think that's where that actual line came from, was from Hush.
Was it? Okay. Yeah, and I think, and if I can, I'll look for it and find it later. But it's a really cool line from, I believe it's The Dark Knight Returns. But anyway, I'll find it after a while. The other thing is Act of God, which is a Justice League arc of comics where, and these are the only ones I've ever read really of DC. Like some cosmic event happens that takes all the DC superheroes all lose their superpowers. Superman's no longer Superman; he's just Clark Kent.
Flash can't be the Flash.
Flash is not super fast. Wonder Woman is just, I can't remember her character. Anyway, it's going to bother me because I know who Wonder Woman's actual name is, but all these.
Shit, what is her name?
Diana.
Diana. Thank you.
Diana.
How can I forget that?
It's Diana something.
She's an Amazon.
Yeah. Well, she's like daughter of Athena or something too, right? Like she has some sort of.
It's like what's that place they're from? Amastera or Amascara?
Yeah. Amascara. I think.
Yeah,
that's right.
But anyway, so you have all these people that can't. They don't have their superpowers anymore. And suddenly the baddest motherfucker on planet Earth
Batman.
is Batman. And it's funny because that's one where after they all lose their powers, they're having this big like superhero meeting. And Batman's just kind of chilling in the background, just kind of like, everybody's having this meeting and Batman's just kind of like,
I'm still me.
Batman's already got in his head what he's doing. He's like,
and they probably don't even know he's there.
Well, I think they do know he's there, but he's just kind of like, I'm just here as a courtesy. Mm-hmm. I've already got the machine's already rolling. I'm already doing stuff.
Now, he probably prepared for it anyway in the first place.
Yeah, and like it gets to a point where he just kind of steps in and he's like, that's great that you guys are trying to figure out, what to do and where do you go from here. He's like, I'm gonna go save the world. And they're all just kind of like Clark Kent or Superman, basically, gets all pissed off, and he basically takes a swing at Batman. And Batman kind of, I think if I remember correctly, Batman just kind of steps back and he's like, you don't want to do that, Clark. And Clark tries again, and Batman just beats the shit out of him. Clark Kent doesn't even land a punch, and Batman's basically like, this is why you don't know how to fight, really. You're super strong, super fast. That's how you win fights. I know how to fight. So now without all that, you're just a dude. And you're a dude like face down on the ground right now.
Yeah.
So back the fuck up. Like I said, I'm going to go save the world. And I mean, that's kind of whole world turns to Batman. Like, whenever this happens, they're like, oh God, what's Batman going to do to save us? Because he's fucking Batman. Yeah. He's been doing this for years.
Yeah, there's a lot of arcs that wind up going like that. The one that I read most recently was when New 52 did the rebirth or whatever it was at that time. They had a Justice League of America, and you had your Justice League, and then all of a sudden this second Justice League shows up, and they all are kind of mirror images in a way, and they have all like every range of superpowers that any of the Justice League had, and they wind up capturing all of the Justice League and assume Batman's dead. Well, he winds up having to be the one to take care of everything. He figures out who they are, what their weakness is, and has the whole base taken down in a matter of a couple of hours. And it's
everyone else is captured.
Yeah, and they know they're like, because they were looking around at everybody else that were captive, and he's like, "You're missing one," and they're like, the man, the mortal.
Yeah,
why do we need to worry about him? He died in a plane crash. It was like, did you see the body?
Yeah.
And like that one's a lot of fun. It's not a very long read. I think it was just like 4 or 5 issues, like the first branch of that new JLA. And just how it wound up ending up was it was fun to see just because I hadn't read any of the new stuff yet, and by the end of it, I was just sitting there like reading, pumping my fist, like yeah.
I don't know if like when did the first Batman versus Superman happen, like in comics? Because I had a comic where it was like one it was like Batman, and the other one had Superman. I think you could like put the two together, and it made like one image. That was way back.
Yeah,
late 80s, 90s. But that might be something completely different. But it's not. It's not brand new.
Yeah.
The whole idea.
No. The concept's not brand new. I think to a lot of people that aren't comic book fans, it's brand new.
Yeah.
Like people who don't actually keep up with comics, they're like, wait, what?
You know, they've never done anything like this movie wise.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Everything's always standalone, or somebody makes a cameo.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like you said, you're a big Marvel person. I like Marvel. I'm not into the whole, the internet culture where it's fanboy versus fanboy shit. Like, hey,
or you got to do it like this verbatim, or you're
Tell
fired.
adapt.
Oh yeah. I'm totally cool with people taking Marvel, their license.
It's very likely we would have never seen this. Yeah. Not until I'm an old man, but Marvel's forcing that hand because Marvel did things so well.
That's what's so crazy about Marvel. Looks like you were big into Marvel, Drew, and like I was, but it was like very specific things. Mm-hmm. I wasn't into like the whole universe and things like that. It was X-Men and Spider-Man.
Yeah,
that's pretty much it. Everything else you knew about or you liked certain parts, or like Fantastic Four. That's Marvel, right?
Yeah.
But you got to look like before they made those movies, they sold a lot of the rights, didn't they?
Yeah.
Well, they're still
because they were almost
the rights are still the rights are still fragmented to an extent.
Yeah, because before Iron Man came out, they were almost bankrupt, I think.
Well,
that's the story that I heard.
Which and we'll kind of because there's some stuff about that we'll get into, but real quick, just because I found it, because I just think this is such an awesome quote, and it just tells you just what kind of a badass Batman is.
We're leaning Batman, everyone.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say it right now.
I mean, I have my predictions, and it actually isn't him.
Yeah.
I like Superman, but Superman to me is boring after a while because Superman is so perfect. Superman is so hard to write actual struggles for. To write
man. The death of Superman, though.
Well, I mean, yeah, but that was one stretch. That was one good stretch. Cool. Yeah. I can name 10 good stretches of Batman.
Yeah, but you know why I think that is probably is because these heroes that we get, we get wrapped up with, like, hey man, that's awesome. I love these characters. They're only as good as their villains. And Superman doesn't really have the range. I mean, he's got
Lex Luthor.
Lex Luthor, Brainiac, and Doomsday. Those
what do they call it? Like their
ones.
Rogues Gallery?
Yeah, the Rogues Gallery.
Yeah, Darkseid.
And to me, that's why I probably never got as invested with Superman as I did Batman, is because
Batman's got some badass ones, dude.
But Batman's also...
Villains, you know what I mean? The villains.
But Batman... See, that's the thing about Batman, too, though, is it's all fantastical, but you do look around and you see people like... Man, that person's could be like Batman, like an actual person, because Batman doesn't have any superpowers. Mm-hmm. Batman just has he has human qualities. He has
and some with his villains too. I would think.
Sure, yeah. But let me get this quote. This is from Dark Knight Returns. Like this is basically right after Batman.
I know exactly.
Basically, just handed his ass to him, and Superman's just like, duh, like just gotten totally hammered. And it's perfect. This is it.
You got to give it the voice, though. You
I can't.
Do it.
Maybe.
You got to give an impression of the voice.
Where is he?
Fuck that laryngitis shit. Now, come on.
Who has the code?
Like you mean it, Drew.
Okay, he's like, I need to get a little sick again. He's like, we could have changed the world. Now look at us. I've become a political liability, and you're a joke. I want you to remember, Clark. In all the years to come, in your most private moments, I want you to remember my hand at your throat. I want you to remember the one man who beat you. Bitch! That's basically what he's like.
I mean,
and scene.
There's a list of things that could happen in this movie that would walk me out of the theater going, I'm really bummed I didn't see that. If that little segment is not in that movie...
Yeah.
My feelings will be fucking hurt.
Yeah,
part of the bar.
Oh man, that's like that's right there. It's just like if that line is delivered, you know what I'm like. You deliver. It doesn't have to be word for word.
Yeah,
but
something to that effect.
But just the vibe of where he's standing over him and he pulls him up from his suit eye to eye and tells him,
Gets him on that level.
in your most private moments, I want you to remember.
Yeah,
like that. To me, I'm like, that was where I was like, I'm sold.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they said they're going to do this movie, I'm like, we're getting it. Because when they announced the movie at Comic-Con, that was actually what they read at the Comic-Con to announce that they're bringing this in. Yeah, they had the guy that was he was the general, the black dude that's the general in Man of Steel. He got a good bellowing voice. He's like, well, I'm going to have him read. This is going to be to tell you who's being in the next movie. And I can't think of his name right now, but he's great voice actor too. And,
from Man of Steel.
Yeah, General. You see him? I think he was in Independence Day as well, maybe.
God, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, but yeah, he read it on stage, and then he didn't even get halfway through it, and I was already just like I was shaking like a 6-year-old. I'm like, no, we're getting it, because leaving that theater, watching Man of Steel, which was. People walked away with one of two feelings, like how everything wound up going in the movie, and it was kind of controversial in its own way. I walked out, and all I said, that was really awesome. Could you imagine seeing Batman?
That guy.
Done, but yes, that guy.
Yeah, it's Harry.
Oh shit! Yeah,
Harry Lennox.
Yeah,
I remember him from The Matrix.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, The Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions too. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, but he read
He's
that.
other stuff, but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like just seeing it because Zack Snyder, I'm a fan of Zack Snyder because there's not another comic book movie director that's really when he's gone direct from subject matter or whatever you want to call it, source material, he's made it look so good. 300, Watchmen. I mean, that right there, the source material to screen, you feel like you're watching it.
I've liked him since his first movie he directed. Dawn of the Dead.
See, that guy, I was looking through his filmography today, and I hadn't seen that.
I agree with you guys all the way until we get to Man of Steel. But I will say that Man of Steel is the best Superman movie that's been made, I think. I'm trying to think. Superman 1, but I can't watch that shit right now. It's just too hokey, man.
Well, we were talking about
and it's not 1978.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, like that, and that's what we were talking about earlier. Like, what was the first comic book movie? I think that was it.
Yeah.
I mean, what was before that? They, like you were saying,
that's probably
Yeah, that was
Superman.
That's probably the first. That is the first one I had seen.
As far as like time, like you said, 78. I mean, they put Marlon Brando, and there's
top billing like 3 minutes tops. Like
I mean, dude, the intro is like epic music.
But dude, I think that's that. Remember, because see, I actually thought Superman Returns was okay. Now here's why. Well, one of the reasons why I liked it.
Parts.
That part, like the trailer was so awesome for that because it had Marlon Brando talking. That whole part that he had in the original Superman, repeating it. But here's why I like the Superman Returns. They made... Well, Kevin Spacey I thought was a great Lex Luthor. I thought.
Movie-wise, probably the best. I wouldn't put him over...
Gene Hackman's really good,
dude, I wouldn't put Gene Hackman over Kevin
I mean, you're fishing in a barrel, though, dude. It's like... I mean, the movies that had come out to that point, it's like... Superman Returns for me, I made people watch it with me just for the airplane scene.
Yeah.
I'm like, that was like, like, that's awesome. But Smallville was out at the time.
Yeah, I never
arguably
understood.
You could really pull more from Smallville.
Yeah, I never understood why they
didn't
use the Smallville people. I mean, from what I've heard, a lot of people think that the guy who played Lex Luthor in that was incredible.
He's my favorite.
Yeah.
I mean, out of any adaptation so far.
Now, as far as like total cross, like anything, Michael Rosenbaum.
Yeah. You gotta. I mean, that's saying if you condense all his good shit across that great span of time of your CW down your throat cheesy bullshit. Yeah. Like his moments. Like he has. There was one episode where he flat out comes out. It's like some kind of. Not dream sequence, but something was going on, alternate world.
Like he's full on Lex Luthor.
He's full on, and you're like, oh my god.
I want to see that.
Yeah, where he's just like, that's right. I am the villain of the story. And he's holding a gun with a kryptonite bullet in it. And you're just like, holy shit, got real. You know, that was the best that I've seen so far. And I wasn't big at all on the Jesse Eisenberg because I picture something different. Yeah, but you know what? Surprise me. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I just don't buy. Like, I mean, what's he gonna do? Like take over the world with Facebook? I just don't.
Yeah, I mean,
I just don't see it. Mark Zuckerberg.
But you know,
really,
I'm with you on that. But
we'll see.
I'm giving the room to prove me wrong.
Honestly, benefit of the doubt.
I've shot shit out of the sky before. It was way too soon, and like I won't do it anymore. But they made it so damn hard out the gate with this movie.
I know.
You know, like Batman. I was like, tell me you're going after Josh Brolin. Tell me you're going after Josh Brolin. That's who I wanted.
Yeah, that would have been.
And then they go, oh, well, no, here's Ben Affleck. And I was just like, oh.
Yeah, no, I heard Ben Affleck and I was like, oh, God.
But the second I saw I saw him in the suit, I was like, here's my fucking money.
Yeah, I was like, money. Yeah, I think he's going to pull it off. But again, Superman Returns, I'm not saying was a great movie. I didn't hate it. A lot of people seem to hate it, and I didn't hate it because what I appreciated about it, at least, and I'm no fan of Bryan Singer. I think Bryan Singer fucking ruined the X-Men. I hate those movies. Yeah, every single one of them I hate. Yeah.
Good God.
Is that Superman Returns was it didn't seem to have a problem being a slow, deliberate, sometimes boring story. That fits with Superman because Superman is just it's like unless you have Doomsday, Darkseid, Brainiac, it's going to be boring.
It's like some of these newer movies, like it basically remade one of the old ones, played it safe, and
but
it is what it is.
I think like I'll watch it again.
Yeah,
it's by no means in my favorite Superman movie, but it had so many things about it that I walked away with like, why didn't I just watch the Christopher Reeve one again?
Exactly,
because they tried. It was pretty much a sequel. In that chain, really.
Yeah.
And
they use the music.
I think it's supposed. They literally said it takes place between Superman 1 and 2.
That's why he returns, is because he'd already done 4 movies of bullshit on Earth, and in between them and there.
And like we said, there's lots that I drew from that movie. I was like, you know, I enjoyed it. I'll watch it again. But when I go to categorize things, that fucking thing doesn't hit the top 10.
No.
You know what I mean? of superhero movies.
Oh God, no. Oh God, no.
You know, and Lex. When I saw Kevin Spacey was going to be Lex, given we're in the midst of Michael Rosenbaum's and you know his portrayal, I'm like, you know, maybe they're going to go this route where he's, you know, that 12th level intellect, and he's, you know, he's ruthless, but he puts on a different face. You know, like maybe we'll see some of this, but no, we went the Gene Hackman campy route, and I felt that it was, I just didn't. It's Kevin Spacey, man. Yeah, I mean, like, can you not?
And
like,
you know what
dig
sucks
into
about
this?
him? It's like the whole rest of the story. It's like, oh, all the good shit's already happened. He was in jail. He just got busted out, and it's like he's already been bad Lex for so long. You get him after the fact.
Yeah, it just.
And I was like, man, it was kind of like you said. This is Kevin Spacey. They should have just wiped the slate clean.
Yeah.
And
I love Kevin Spacey.
Oh God, yeah.
You know, and I was just like, oh, this is gonna be good. But I walked away from it being like, well, the airplane scene was really badass.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess see, because Man of Steel, I was like, I walked away from Man of Steel the same way I did Superman Returns. There were parts that I thought were cool, and there were parts that I thought drug a lot, and it's about how a Superman movie is usually going to be for me.
Man of Steel's like an alien movie.
Really, yeah, but see, in Man of Steel, Russell Crowe was in that movie way too much. Sorry. He all of a sudden became like a main character, and I'm like,
he was in it a lot more than I thought he would.
You're dead, man.
Just, I didn't.
He was essentially the Fortress of Solitude. He was like,
he was.
But then it went mobile. It's like now
I get what you're saying,
and I was just kind of like, But now Man of Steel had the best Superman fights.
It lasted like 30 fucking minutes. Too.
Yeah. And I mean, again, I think Henry Cavill's a fine Superman. I got no problems with him. So yeah, I'm not hating on Superman movies. I'm just saying for me, they're any Superman movie, even Christopher Reeve, whatever, they're nowhere near my favorite superhero movies.
I do think that I'm a little bit more forgiving with Superman because I guess you could say, suffer through 10 seasons of Smallville. You know what I mean? So it's just like you get a little bit more connection to the character. and it's not the best show that was out. I mean, the CW shows that are out now.
There's 3 words he used to describe Smallville.
Oh yeah, it was just the tip. You know what I mean? Like you get all this, you get all the good stuff. Like they dance with it, you know. But by the end, you're 10 years later, you hurt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
But and then going into it, like
I mean, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. No, I just I get you, and like actually, I'm enjoying a CW show right now, Supernatural. I'm watching the shit out of that. You're right, it's CW. It's a soap opera for dudes. It really is, but it's really good though. I mean, but it is a lot of schlock, a lot of cheese.
Yeah, it has this level of cheese, which you're willing to accept as long as it feeds you the
because
badass
there's
stuff,
lots of
too.
blood and gore and hot chicks as well, badass cars, funny characters, good lines. I get what you're saying, and maybe honestly, I probably need to give Smallville a chance. I never really watched it, so I don't know. We'll see. I don't know, but.
You gotta have somebody go through and just pick you out some episodes from every season.
Yeah.
I don't want to put you through because like Freak of the Week is a running thing in there, and like their Freak of the Weeks are really strugglers to get through. But the good stuff in that is as good as any superhero TV show is. Like the La Veritas stuff, and when certain villains show up, it just you never get Superman. You never really get him.
Yeah,
you kind of see him at that last episode.
Yeah, that last episode, and then
a couple clips before where they
don't really see him.
No, you don't.
But and then you go in basically fresh off of that whole thing being over. You go in, you get to see Man of Steel, and it's this new adaptation. It's brought into a modern world, and they tried to make it to where if this were real life type thing, you know what I mean? And I think that's how they're going to carry it throughout this entire universe, which is what's different from Marvel. And I think that's why I connect to DC more, is because it is a little bit darker. It is a little bit more serious tone. And
I mean, going back through history, they had always done it first anyway. Justice League was first. And then they made the Avengers.
I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure, but I don't want to go off and say that.
That's kind of why, well, I don't, that's why I never really got into Avengers. Like, I like the movies, but like, I don't know. They don't.
I think the Avengers.
They don't hold the same
honestly,
gravitas as like you get all these badasses for the Justice League together.
I think
that's also a personal connection too. Though.
That too, yeah.
Because like you throw Spider-Man in the mix, and there's this whole other realm of people.
Start changing my
yeah. I mean, because like I was never a Spider-Man guy. I've seen all the movies.
Yeah.
Some of the cartoons here and there, but he's not my guy. But I am excited to see him because. It's all with all these other guys we've spent the last decade getting to know, And I had a short conversation with you about this, is that Marvel did it so well. And they did everything from the bottom up. And that's what kind of scares me about this DC Extended Universe, is that they're going from top down. Yeah. They're showing you pretty much the big dogs out the front and then trying to build the individual storylines off of the mothership, so to say. But
they started with Iron Man.
Yeah, started with Iron Man. They fed you a Hulk. Are they related? We're not sure. Here's a Thor, and then bam, here's a movie with all of them, and completely. And that's one of my favorite comic book movies, because it was like it's the first time you get to see all this happen on one screen. It's all these characters that had their own individual movies, and it made it special for me.
Yeah, and I mean, if the X-Men movies hadn't been just so bad, we would have already had that. Because you would have already had the X-Men.
Yeah, but the X-Men is kind of its own thing, though. Like, there's only one, maybe
even
two.
In the universe, it's very walled off.
Yeah, and there's really only one or two characters you could build an individual franchise off of. I mean, but if you came to me before all this all started and said, hey, we're going to do 2-3 movies of Thor, what do you think? I'm going to be like, are you out of your fucking mind? Like, the dude's got a rainbow road. You know what I mean? Like, how are you going to make this believable for me?
Yeah, who gives a shit?
But then they do it, and they do it, well. Like, I enjoyed all the Thor movies. I've heard you guys I've heard you guys talk about them on here that, there's some skepticism. I get that,
All in all, I like the movie. I was entertained.
I am entertained.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, see, I'm going to say this. Until, like, you had... Well, forget about Superman in the 70s and the 80s. You had that, and then you had these really crappy, like never speak of these Spider-Man and Captain America movies in the 80s.
There was a Fantastic Four.
Yeah, the Fantastic, which was made just so the studio could retain the rights. They had to make a movie.
Yeah.
And then you had I think it was Roger Corman's, essentially,
it's bad.
Fantastic Four. And I hear it's actually better than the ones they made with, Jessica Alba and Chickless and all that.
I mean, that's...
I've heard because it's endearing, it's so bad.
There were some awards for that movie, I believe.
Yeah, they're called raspberries.
Those.
So you had this sort of period where you had nothing really of that was to be taken seriously, and then Batman dropped with Michael Keaton, who I still say the best Batman
Until
on screen.
proven otherwise.
Yeah, Michael Keaton just knocked it out of the park because nobody has played him, in my opinion, like the Batman that's kind of sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes on the edge, like.
You want to get nuts?
Yeah, you want to get fucking nuts? Yeah, I could easily go over the edge. I could easily be the Joker. Like, we're two sides of the same coin.
He read to be the Joker, if I read right. I think he auditioned to be the Joker, and they're like, you know what?
Because you gotta think that's what Michael Keaton. Any movie he's in, he has that freak out.
He played the Joker.
He has that dark edge.
Suit and lived on a fucking model house. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like Beetlejuice and shit.
Oh yeah, oh god, Beetlejuice, man.
I'm talking about like a scene where he's normal, and then he's just yelling, and he just loses it, and then it's over. And then next scene.
She touched my peppy, Steve.
Yeah,
yeah, and that's a great movie though, Batman. I mean, Jack Nicholson was great. Michael Keaton was great. The movie itself was great. Then you get Batman Returns, which.
I personally like it, but looking at it,
I don't hate it. I think that it's weird and stylized. Tim Burton as a Tim Burton movie is, and Batman fits with that. It
went a little over the edge there.
It went a little bit out
crazy
there.
Maniacal,
but that's
things.
Fine. That's fine. I don't think that's whatever.
All in all, I loved it when I was a kid.
Then all the other Batman movies after that,
Joel Schumacher, man.
Just bad.
They're the reason we have all these dark movies now in DC. Like, I made a joke with him not too long ago. He's like, well, a lot of people get upset. Marvel's got jokes. They're funny movies. I'm like, would you want to be funny either? After
Batman had a credit card, dude.
Yeah. You
know what I mean?
Yeah. Don't leave home without it. My Batman MasterCard.
Credit card commercial.
The Ice Age. Done, dude. You're done. Just cash out, get what you got, and go.
And so you had that stretch where it's just superhero movies were a joke. Mm-hmm. And honestly, as much as I like Batman, and as much as I thought Batman Returns was okay, I thought the best superhero movie of the 90s was Blade. The first Blade. Because that one...
That might be 2000, technically.
No, I'm pretty sure that's late 90s.
You might be right. Yeah, I think you're right.
We'll check.
98, something like that.
Yeah, but that movie, first of all, perfect casting. Wesley Snipes is fucking Blade.
Yeah.
It just from Jump Street, that worked.
I watched that the other day.
I still need to.
It
was the first. Well, it was R-rated. I think I saw something brought it up because it was like the first R-rated one.
Yeah, it was R-rated. Yeah, because 98.
Yeah, after
1998.
After Deadpool, they were like, oh, R-rated everything.
Yeah.
It was like,
which that's a whole discussion on its own that I'm not necessarily for. I think it's neat, but
I don't think you need to make everything R-rated.
No, because you have to. It's who's buying the fucking toys. Who's spending the money on this shit? You want to return on your investment, and in order to do that, you have to make it accessible to more ages to get your budgets, to get your turnaround.
And not the fact that it was just R-rated, but the budget for that movie was kind of middle of the road.
They didn't really. I don't think they really expected it.
No, I don't think so either.
I think sheer determination on Ryan Reynolds' part is what got that movie made and made it a success.
Yeah,
and fucking bravo.
And it fits him perfectly.
Yeah. And I think, but see, like you said with R-rated movies, I think it only makes sense thematically with certain properties. Blade, R-rated makes sense. Deadpool, R-rated makes sense. Somebody else I can think of.
Superman? Yeah. Probably not.
No. Batman was R. The first Batman was R. Yeah.
I think it was PG-13.
PG-13, dude.
Yeah.
You guys,
Different
You're
time.
going against the master here. You guys want to bet money on this?
We'll accept it.
I'll even go further and say Batman Returns was R as well.
Nah, dude, I don't
Okay,
think
well, you
so.
just do that, and I'll hold on to my McDonald's Happy Meals toys from back in the day. And
Dude, I went to Batman Returns.
I wore the
so did I.
VHS out. Dude.
Alone is my point.
I wore the VHS out in the VCR.
Oh shit!
My mom bought a rewinder.
It might have
for that
been
movie.
PG-13.
Yeah, dude, it's a different time, man.
You're not telling us any news.
No,
this is news to you.
Hey, you guys thought Blade came out in the 2000s back. Right?
go. You know, you're kind of going through the
Okay,
90s.
but what I was gonna say, another property, Wolverine, I think could have an R-rated movie.
It could.
Batman could have an R-rated movie, in my opinion.
It very well.
It doesn't have to be an R-rated movie with like dick and fart jokes. I'm saying it could be an R-rated movie with
It's
hyper
violent.
violence. In a Batman movie would make sense to me because Batman it's in Gotham fucking City.
And
Arkham Asylum, any of that kind of stuff. Yeah, dude, the Joker, I mean, hell, just imagine if they took The Killing Joke and made it into a movie. You're going to have a scene
Are they
where,
doing that?
animated movie. It's
Animated
rated R.
movie, yeah.
Well, you're going to have a scene where, was it Barbara Gordon gets shot and paralyzed, stripped naked, and videotaped and basically shown to her dad to try and break him. A la, they took that trope for Harvey Dent in The Dark Knight. They took that whole thing, like turning a good man bad.
Mm-hmm.
That was done in The Killing Joke. It was the Joker doing it to Commissioner Gordon, trying to prove to Batman that any good person can have a bad day and become like me, the Joker. And it was Commissioner Gordon that they were trying to do it to. Well, in The Dark Knight, they did it to Harvey Dent.
Yeah.
So that's something, they pulled that to, from the movie. They didn't take The Killing Joke necessarily and make it a movie, but they took a central theme of it and put it into a Batman movie. But hell, what was The Dark Knight? Was The Dark Knight? I don't think those were R or anything, but God, man.
No.
No, The Killing Joke, the animated feature, they brought back Kevin Conroy, who's a guy from the animated series.
As Batman.
Mark Hamill's coming back, and it's rated R. I've already read into it.
So I think Batman could be rated R easily. But like you said, a Superman movie rated R, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think it would
You're
work.
going through stuff in the 90s. I don't know if I talked to you, Ryan, about this a few weeks back, but I watched that Superman Lives documentary.
Yeah, I saw that too.
That was just insane. Not like what they were going to do with the movie, but how this producer went about trying to hey, I don't care shit. You're talking about, Drew, you're talking about source content and how some of these newer movies have taken things from different comic books and story arcs. And this guy's just I just want to make a great movie, it seems like. That part where he's okay, Superman's in this Fortress of Solitude, and
You're talking about Kevin Smith? Kevin Smith did a treatment?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's talking with Kevin Smith because he wrote the initial script, and he's okay, read it to me. And
literally read it.
And he's what am I gonna fucking tuck you into bed? When I'm done. But he's Superman's in the Fortress of Solitude, and Brainiac's walking up. Well, he needs to do something, so let's have him kill one of Superman's guards.
Yeah.
He's well, it's a Fortress of Solitude,
and it's fucking Superman. Why does he need guards?
He's up there alone. Yeah, and he's okay, well, let's use polar bears.
Yeah.
And he's okay, it's just
he
that
wanted
right there is
he
how
wanted a
movies
giant
suck.
spider. And that's
and you know why? Because spiders are one of the most vicious creatures in the animal kingdom.
Yeah.
Polar bears are one of the most vicious creatures.
And I think this guy that you're talking about was a hairdresser.
Yeah, he was Barbara Streisand's hairdresser.
And then he's the guy that went on to make Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
And guess what was in Wild Wild West?
That big
a
fucking
giant
spider.
mechanical spider. Yeah.
So I was just that right there is how you end up pissing people off. Not that movie couldn't have been cool. I don't personally think I would have liked it with Nicolas Cage. And then, it kind of shows them making the suit.
It could have had a lot of cool visuals. You know what I mean? There's a lot of movies that you'll watch just because, hey, it might look cool. Gods of Egypt? Anybody?
Yeah.
It might look cool, but you're not going to draw
actually be
anything
good.
from it. And thank God the movie never got made.
And weren't they going to use the death of Superman? That was kind of the basis of and I'm how do you get all of that bullshit you just created out of the death of Superman? None of that's in the death of Superman.
Yeah. It's people making the movies who don't appreciate the source material.
Yeah, and going back to like fanboys, like it's not that you have to be verbatim. You know, it has to be like this, but it's like that's not even in the bar.
Wasn't there even a financial crisis with the property of Superman at that time? Which
I think that's how he. that's how he ended up with the rights. He was like,
real quick before I forget,
I got the rights.
You want to talk about a Superman freak? Nicolas Cage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
His son is named Kal-El.
I mean, you almost want to...
I'm not even kidding.
Yeah,
I know,
I mean, you almost want to let him do something.
Yeah.
Yeah, let him be an extra.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude, you can't be super... I'm sorry. You just...
And I know Nick Cage. You know,
I know Nick Cage hater. I'm just saying you can't be Superman, dude.
Dude, I loved Con Air.
Look what...
I mean?
Yeah.
That accent was legit.
Look what happened when we let you be Ghost Rider.
I did try to watch Face Off the other day, and I was just like,
"Oh God, you shouldn't have."
I can't do it.
I like Face Off for whatever reason.
I did too, and then I tried to rewatch it, and I was like,
"So just don't go back."
How can
yeah.
If this wasn't your garage, I would tell you to get out. How do you like Face Off?
Dude, anytime John Travolta's a bad guy, I'm interested, and I don't have any good reasoning behind it, but
fair enough.
I like John Travolta as a bad guy.
John Travolta does have the best line in that whole movie. Whenever he's like, I think he finally gets back to like. Nicolas Cage's house, you know, his normal family life, and he kind of I don't know, just kind of shakes the day off, and he kind of sits down, and he's like, "I am the king," and just kind of sits back in his chair, and I'm like, and like his daughter comes in, and he's like, "You want a cigarette?" You know, and she's just like, "Okay."
Who are you?
Like, what happened to you, Dad? Yeah. You got cool. But yeah, so let's not talk about that fucking movie. Holy shit. Let's see. So we've kind of gone through the 90s a bit. I don't think there's really any other movies there that are even worth talking about that I can think of. You have the Spider-Man movies and the X-Men movies, which in my opinion were all bad. Didn't care for any of them. Parts of Spider-Man 2 I thought were not bad.
That's my favorite one.
Thought they nailed Doc Ock.
Oh yeah. X-Men movies.
The X-Men movies, I thought they had bits of good casting. Like, see, here's something I'm curious about. I could never stand Ian McKellen as Magneto, and here's why. Ian McKellen's a great actor.
Oh, yeah.
Magneto is not an octogenarian.
That's
Professor
true.
X isn't as old as he is in those movies either.
Yeah.
But Patrick Stewart looks so much like him anyway, and he does just have to, be in a wheelchair. It's not like he's having to get up there and fight. But if you look at the comics, Magneto was a swole motherfucker, dude.
Yeah.
Magneto would get down and box some people. Now he didn't necessarily have to a lot.
They all were though. Really.
Well, I mean, Magneto was that dude
he was
huge.
Imposing.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, Ian McKellen. As much as I'm like, you're a great
pink and
actor.
Purple look good. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, look at the opposite of the spectrum. We got Michael Fassbender as him now.
Which at least Michael...
That's a lot better.
Yeah, but yeah. And I think, what's McAvoy's... What's his first... I can't remember think of his first name.
Roy?
Probably James.
Yeah, James, yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
He's, as Professor X, is good. I thought the X-Men First Class movie, not bad.
You know what's
really enjoyed it.
You know what's crazy about that whole arc of X-Men movies is I think it's the newest one. Is that what, Days of Future Past?
That's the last one that came out.
Last
Yeah.
one? Is that the one where it's like the very end of it, Wolverine kind of wakes up and he's been in that alternate... timeline.
They get the whole series gets a mulligan in a way.
Yeah. Well, what's crazy about that is he wakes up and he's in the the X-Men Academy, Xavier Academy, and that little final scene right there. I'm like, that right there is what I wanted out of any of those movies.
Yeah.
That little 5-minute part where Beast is there. Hey, Storm. They're going to teach class. Somebody get called. We've got a fucking crisis, and they take off in their fucking their X-wing. Yeah. That right there could have been any of the other... Whatever the fuck it's called.
I think it's the Blackbird, but yeah.
The Blackbird.
Might as well have been the X-Wing.
It could have been so good, dude. But we get how many movies? Three.
The third one is just laughably bad.
It was what was it just as a film, not just...
The third one's the one where Professor X dies, Cyclops dies, everybody dies.
Oh, okay, the Phoenix one.
Yeah, Wolverine has to kill Jean Grey at the end. And it's just...
hey, we finally added Beast.
And again,
Beast in here.
The only thing I liked about those movies is you got to see certain characters in action. And I still think one of the coolest superhero movie moments was... And that's out of all of them. was Nightcrawler in the White House.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I mean, I saw that and I was like, oh, this is so cool.
That's the intro.
Yeah.
The movie, and you're like, holy
yeah.
shit, yes.
And at that point, you could have gone to the bathroom, got your candies, and left.
Yeah.
Like, because then it was, like, that's really all you were really going to get from that movie.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think, Hugh Jackman's fine. He's a good Wolverine. However, I never thought...
How many of those movies were there?
Well, and those were all bad, too.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman, in my opinion, if I'm a purist, Hugh Jackman is way too tall of a person to be... Like, it's like whenever Tom Cruise played Jack Reacher.
Okay.
If you read any of the books, Jack Reacher's 6'5", about 250, and
Tom Cruise is like 5'3".
Tom Cruise is 5'5", $180, and I'm like,
Soaking
now,
wet, wrapped in a rug.
and now Tom Cruise played the character great, but he never had the physical presence that Jack Reacher has. It's almost the reverse for Wolverine. Wolverine is probably about 5'6", 180, 85 pounds of just pure muscle and fury. And Hugh Jackman's like 6'4", and I just kind of was like, man, Wolverine's always like this kind of...
They went to Glenn Danzig first.
Really?
If I remember correctly. They went to Glenn Danzig
That would
first.
have been fucking interesting.
Would it, though? I mean, like...
I don't know,
Because
yeah.
you'd
Dude's
been like,
never
as long as he
acted.
doesn't talk.
Yeah.
I think...
In my opinion, who I thought...
Wolverine's not known for a lot of, but it's like you got to watch
Like-
a movie with him. in it,
like, Bub and Mother.
In his prime, I thought the best person for that part would have been Gary Sinise. In his prime. In the 90s when they were making that, Gary Sinise looked the part, had the stature, everything.
Lieutenant Dan?
Yep, Lieutenant Dan.
Who played Wolverine?
Wolverine. Just bulk up a little bit, put on some muscle, like
Okay.
any of these actors do. And his face
I
and
really thought about
everything.
Lieutenant Dan as being Wolverine, but all right.
Just imagine him with some chops, some crazy hair. Anyway, but
Silent disagreement, but we'll...
that's fine. But anyway, I thought all of those movies were I just couldn't stand them. Spider-Man as well. Not really until which came first? Was it Batman Begins or Iron Man?
Batman Begins.
Begins.
And I thought that started off this newest wave that we have, really.
I had to, even as big of a Batman fan as I am, I had to be convinced to go to that movie. Just because I'm like...
It's different.
Well, no, not even that it's different. It's just like, we just went through this. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to see one of my favorite parts of my childhood butchered again.
Yeah.
Because, and to go back even further, the 89 movie for me was kind of like a revamp because I grew up, I was like 5, 6 years old, and the only Batman I really knew was from one comic book, and then I used to watch with my little brother and my cousin the Adam West Show.
Yeah.
Hence the shirt I'm wearing today. I mean, that was my Batman for a long time, and then Burton brought out that, so it was like this whole like, oh, everything's awesome again. And then you suffer through some of that, and then this, when it came out, I was really, really skeptical, and still have a lot of reservations about they are the best comic book movies that I think. You know what I mean? Like, as for overall quality of movie storytelling, just the way it carries you through a series, I love it. But
And there's 3 of them.
yeah, but
no superhero has the trilogy that Batman has, in my opinion.
All that being said, I hate the way he was played. I hate the way he was portrayed, and it's not Batman to me.
Okay.
But I enjoyed
fair.
it. I loved it, and everybody's afraid to really call out that movie and any of those movies and say that's not really Batman. This is a Bruce Wayne movie, and there's no detective work. He's not really like, he can't go into a room and clear it. You know what I mean? I just didn't like the way it looked. It was too hyper realistic in a way. And then when I saw this trailer for the new one coming out, and I sent it to you, and I was like, this is all I've waited for this whole time. The way that everything was in the comics, the video games, it's just like, But I love the Nolan movies, but it's just like the way that Batman is. It was really hard for me to.
It was a
follow.
different take on Batman for sure.
It was like if all three of those movies were year one, okay, I can buy that.
Yeah.
But he retired, not really doing anything different than he did in the first movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I agree, and I think because I liked Iron Man a lot, I thought Iron Man was great,
But I mean, gun to your head, what was going on in Iron Man 3? Like,
I don't know, and I don't care.
exactly.
I didn't like it. I didn't like Iron Man 2 either. See, here's the thing.
I fell asleep to Iron Man 2.
Here's. I'll put it to you like this. Like, just going through them. I didn't like Iron Man 2 or 3. Didn't like Thor 1 and 2. Didn't like Captain America 1. But I think some of the best is the Hulk movie with Edward Norton.
I thought you said you didn't like that on a previous episode.
Oh no, with Edward
No,
Norton.
he was talking about Thor.
Okay.
Thor. Yeah, no, Thor. Don't like.
Because I was coming with that. I was like, why didn't you like that movie?
Oh no, I love the Hulk with Edward Norton.
Mm-hmm.
Good shit.
I liked it.
It was perfect. It's unfortunate that
It's hard to convince people to watch that one too.
That's a great movie, man.
Probably, sadly, out of the 3 they attempted, the best one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the best Hulk movie for sure. Better than that, the Eric Bana one, the Ong Lee directed one in the early 2000s. Which I understand where he was trying to go with that, but it was like, dude, it's the Hulk, dude. Don't try to get don't get artsy fartsy on us with the Hulk.
Yeah, and they changed a lot of the story. Like, it's the same thing. You're like, why are you fucking with something that works?
I think it was still the whole property ownership thing. It was
Probably,
it was
probably.
it was a different studio, maybe.
Well, that's why, like, in the Avengers, you have, like, in the actual comics, it's Magneto's daughter, but you can't say that's Magneto's daughter because somebody else owns X-Men.
Well, yeah, it's the difference between Disney owns Marvel, except
and it's
20th
Fox.
Century Fox owns the X-Men.
Exactly.
But they also own Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Spider-Man's kind of on loan.
Isn't Sony doing all that now?
Sony.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Sony. He's kind of on loan. It's some weird agreement or partnership to be in this Captain America movie. Which, have you seen the latest trailer for Civil War?
I think so.
Spider-Man's in it. He's in the very end of it.
Yes, I have seen that.
Under ruse.
Yeah. So you have these weird relationships where, you're not gonna. Unfortunately, it would be so cool to have Wolverine pop up. Wolverine was part of the Avengers for a minute. Mm-hmm. He was there at a certain point in time. He was on the Avengers, and I don't think it was long lived. But or you also had the X-Men and Avengers fought. They fought in multiple comic books. So you want to talk about Batman, Superman? Oh, this is gonna be an awesome mashup. Imagine if they had a fucking movie with the X-Men and the Avengers in it.
And they had, I think, the books, the Infinity Gauntlet. I think
I think that's what the Avengers is leading to. Yeah, I think that's what they're leading to.
Pretty much that entire Marvel universe.
Oh yeah,
it takes all of them, but
which we're never going to get it like that.
We won't.
If I had to put it like what I think the best superhero movies are that they've put out, Marvel, let's say Marvel, is Captain America: Winter Soldier and Guardians of the Galaxy.
I loved Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
I mean it's hard to say that's not my favorite out of them all.
I was so shocked that they
fun.
didn't think that they didn't think that movie was going to do very well, and then they released it as end of August, so it was in that slate where it's we got to put this movie out, but it's not going to be a blockbuster.
Yeah. But you got to think who's
in
it.
They did a good amount of marketing behind it though. So,
but who's in that movie? Who's the star power? When that movie came out, who was the star power? Yeah, there wasn't any. Chris Pratt wasn't a name yet.
No.
That's what made Chris Pratt a name.
Yeah, but I didn't even know he was even in.
Merle was in it.
Yeah, Michael Rooker.
Yeah.
I mean, you had John C. Reilly was in it. You had Glenn Close was in it.
That's all I.
But they were all cameo parts. Benicio del Toro.
They walk in and they're like, "Who the hell are these guys?" And call themselves the Guardians of the Galaxy. What a bunch of assholes! And that was it.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I mean, I've got. I think as far as superhero movies go, I think there's a lot of hits and misses, but I think these last 12 years, let's say, have been the best stretch for superhero movies because you've had a lot of really well done. Before that, I thought you had a couple of early good Batman movies. Blade was a high point for me, and then you had a bunch of shitty Batman movies, a bunch of shitty Spider-Man movies, a bunch of shitty Fantastic Four movies. And then Batman Begins dropped, and that started, in my opinion, what gave us Iron Man. I think Iron Man needs to look to Batman Begins to say they showed that hey, not only can you make a superhero movie, it can be critically acclaimed, and there you had it. And I think that's where you get the Avengers is okay. I watched the Avengers the first time, and I was like, this is cool. And then I tried to watch it again, and I was like, I'd rather just watch one of their...
I think the first one's great, kind of like for the reason you were talking about, like, wow, it's the first time something like this has happened, but like, I watched the second one, good movie, but I could never watch it again either and feel totally fine.
I mean, and it makes you worry going in further down, now that they've kind of, they've keep prolonging this kind of, I guess you want to call it an end game for this Marvel Cinematic Universe with, the Thanos and all that stuff. It's just kind of like, in the next Avengers movie that there is, they're already showing you that the Avengers core group is changing. Are you still going to be able to draw the amount of interest on a different core group now?
Yeah.
Because in that new core group at the end of Age of Ultron, there's no Thor, there's no Tony Stark. Are you going to be able to draw people in on Vision and Scarlet Witch?
Well, that's something
Falcon?
you've talked about too before is just how big comic book movies are now.
The fatigue
of it.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that's before this DC is trying to they're trying to get going kind of the same way Marvel did. This hasn't technically happened yet.
Yeah. I mean, it may have, and we just don't realize it yet. Like, it really depends on how these first couple of movies go, I think, for DC, what they have on their slate coming up, to really kind of gauge. Because, like I said earlier, they're doing everything top down. Yeah. So their biggest draw is going to be these next 3 movies, probably.
Which I think, though, it's going to be... You're going to have this first Justice League movie coming up here this week, and then I think it's solo movies. The next... I think
you have
Wonder Woman,
BVS, Suicide Squad, then Wonder Woman, and then Justice League. I think that's the order of which they're going to come out.
Oh, see, I thought they were going to have another Superman movie. I thought
they still have not locked down another.
Oh, okay,
Superman
okay.
movie.
Well, and
I
what
think
about
that's a damn shame.
What about Aquaman?
I think Aquaman's the following year. I don't know. Okay. I don't know for sure, but I know it's not before the Justice League and the Wonder Woman movie.
And here's my thing to counter the fatigue. Like, will it matter?
It won't to me.
Well, no, yeah, and I don't think it'll matter to a lot of the audience either, because there's still that element of like, well, we've never seen this before, so I'm totally down for a Justice League movie, whether it ends up sucking or not. I'm gonna have to see.
Yeah,
and it seems the excitement level is still pretty high.
Look at how like it could do so shitty here. These things are worldwide phenomenons now, where it's like they'll make a shitload of money off of it. And it won't matter. Yeah. They'll just keep pumping them out, and people here in this country could hate it all day long, and they'll still keep pumping them out.
Sure. And I think I'm with you that it's going to happen. That it's going to get to a point where, I mean, I think we're already there, where there's just so many superhero movies. But if they keep doing them well, that's kind of the cool thing about superhero movies, is. Yeah, it's its own genre, but if you look at movies that's why I think Captain America Winter Soldier is such a great movie. It's a superhero movie, but to me, the biggest thing that it is a taut political thriller.
Yeah, it's a spy movie.
Yeah. There's superheroes in it, but man, the coolest parts of that story is intrigue. Mm-hmm. It's not, there's some cool fights in it and stuff like that, but it's just, man, all of the way that, like Robert Redford's character and Chris Evans, the way that their characters play off of each other, and where you can see it transcends being a superhero.
Samuel L. Jackson's got his
exactly. Samuel,
it is pretty good.
You've got these different factions that have their own political ambitions. Well, and then you have Captain America himself, who has really no political ambitions. He's got I want to do the right thing ambition.
America's.
Yeah. Just the truth, justice, and the American way. Or is that Superman?
That's Superman, yeah.
But anyway, which I always remember, what is it? The old arcade beat 'em up, the Avengers. Whenever you would die, and it would be continue in the arcade, it would always be America still needs your help, and it would be like Captain America, calling for you to throw more quarters in.
Give me your quarter for freedom.
Yeah, exactly, man. Come on, capitalism, baby. So anyway,
just to touch on that too, I think one last thing that I would say is that the one thing I think DC is doing right is they're not going and getting scrubs to fill these roles or to direct these movies or to write these screenplays. they're going after acclaimed people to fill these spots.
Yeah.
You know, like already the next figuratively, the next Batman movie, I think everybody on the cast is an Academy Award winner.
They're not doing think you're talking about bad comic book movies like the past Green Lantern. They're not just gonna be like, hey, we're just gonna make a Green Lantern. Fuck it.
Yeah.
They're not doing that.
Yeah, no, I mean, you went and got a...
Now, is Ben Affleck going to have his own Batman movie?
He may be directing it.
Oh. Now, see...
And let's talk about Ben
Affleck really quick, just because...
Oh, Ben
Affleck, to me, has... For a good stretch of time, was always a joke to me.
Yeah.
Like... He did some good Kevin Smith movies. He had some good turns in Kevin Smith movies, like, Mallrats. He was the guy that worked at Fashionable Mail, just the dickhead.
Yeah, Jersey Girl or whatever it was.
Well, that Jersey Girl, no. I'm just talking I'm not a fan of that. But I'm just saying, Kevin Smith movies, Dogma, he was great in Dogma.
Yeah.
And then he gets, hyper famous, and he starts just doing these shit movies, like fucking reindeer games and shit
Daredevil.
like that. Yeah, Daredevil. Yeah, let's talk about an ass of a movie.
I didn't think we were going to mention that this whole time. I was wrong.
Which I'll say this: Daredevil, just a shit nugget of a movie. Elektra wasn't all that bad, really. Surprisingly, I went into Elektra thinking, "God, this is going to be horrible." I walked away from that movie going, "Actually, that wasn't all that bad." So whatever. That was another little bit of a minor bright spot in the superhero movies early on. But then Ben Affleck started to direct movies. What was it? Gone Baby Gone, I think, was him. Great movie where I think he was directing his cousin or whatever, Casey Affleck, whoever. I think it's his cousin.
Yeah.
Great fucking movie.
The Ocean's 11 and stuff, right?
Yeah, he was in Ocean's 11. Yeah,
and the rest of those.
Argo. Yeah, The Town.
Yeah, see, a lot of these I've seen Argo. But
dude, The Town is so
I know
good.
all of these are good movies.
When they cast him for Batman, I was like, okay, well, I need to find somewhere to muster up some faith that he's going to do something. First movie I went to was The Town. Watched The Town. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to buy in. I'm going to go ahead and just I'm going to sell out on it. And I'm gonna be like, he's going to do a great job.
The guy, I don't know. He went through a phase where he was just like King Douchebag, it seemed like, but.
In a way, he kind of mirrors this adaptation of Batman. From being young and reckless until now, as he's being incorporated into this cinematic universe, he's seasoned, he's weathered, he's broken. He ain't got time for bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I think Ben Affleck has done, in the last, 5-6 years, dude, I don't think the guy's done anything that I've disliked. Gone Girl, I mean, he didn't direct it, but he started it. It was a great movie.
Yeah, he did good.
So when I heard he was going to be Batman, I was like, oh God, no. And then I was literally like, but wait, dude, Ben Affleck's on the upswing right now. And I know if anything, if for no other reason than he is friends with Kevin Smith, Kevin Smith's going to be in his fucking ear. You know it. Like, all right, dude, this is how you fucking play Batman, dude. Now listen to me. I'm going to direct you, and then Zack Snyder's going to direct you. So listen, this is how you fucking play the Bat. So I kind of was like, you know what? I'm not so worried about that. What I'm worried about was when I saw that second fucking trailer for Batman versus Superman right there.
Understandably so.
I don't get into trailers a bunch. I eventually see a bunch of them. What was so bad about it?
The way that Doomsday apparently is being brought into it seems like he's being shoehorned in. The dialogue seemed really fucking cheesy whenever, Wonder Woman shows up and they're like, I thought she was with you. And it's like, come on, guys. This isn't like fucking Tango and Cash here. That worked for Tango and Cash, but it just seemed really cheesy, really forced. Everything seemed forced. Doomsday seemed forced into it. Wonder Woman seemed forced into it. But then the third and final trailer comes out, and I'm like, holy fuck, dude. If this had been the only trailer they showed...
They should have never shown the second trailer.
I would have camped out for this fucking movie. That third trailer looks just insanely good.
I think the best part about that trailer, obviously the first 45 seconds or whatever, but is that when they did that, there was no score. There was no music, there was no build-up, it was just silence and fucking brutality. And from that, like, I was just watching it, like, hand over mouth.
Are you talking about the one where Batman?
Yeah,
he's basically playing Arkham Asylum.
Yeah.
And he's beating he's pulling the combos off and beating the shit out of
it was just all you heard was bone crunching and the heads bouncing. That's all you could fucking hear.
Yep.
And at that point, I was just like, this is fucking happening. Because the previous trailer, I got excited because I'm invested.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, cool, Doomsday, which we will come back to that. I was just like, I'm excited because I'm getting to see this. It looks like what I want to see. And I wish they'd have never shown that trailer because...
I do too.
the Doomsday, what we briefly touched on outside is that I agree with you. There's a whole nother arc that could be done off of that character. But that's not to say that they're not going to do it. This is a regenerating character. Who knows how many times he might get killed in this movie and come back in this movie.
It could be. But again, I guess the way I saw it is I was like, Doomsday is the ultimate answer to Superman. Mm-hmm. You're going to use him as the reason the Justice League comes together. That makes sense.
This might not even be Doomsday.
But, I mean, yeah, you're right. But it fucking looks like Doomsday.
It doesn't look like Doomsday. That's the other part of it. That's the part that I lean to that I'm like, there's no rock formations coming out of his face. He's not spiked across his back. This basically looks just like a reanimated something.
Well, I think it's a reanimated, I think it's Doomsday. He takes General Zod's DNA because, see, there is a Superman comic where Lex Luthor gets the skeleton of Doomsday and uses Kryptonian DNA to graft new flesh onto it and brings Doomsday back. That's what this screamed to me, and I was like, okay, but man, that happened after Doomsday had already shown up a couple of times. Mm-hmm. It just seems like it seems to me they went to
panic mode in a way.
I don't even know if it's panic mode or just we're pulling out the biggest fucking gun you could ever fucking pull out. It's almost like in Batman, the original Batman, Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson. Great fucking movie except for one thing. They killed the Joker.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck, man. Y'all shot your wad right there, dude. No more Joker in this stretch. The Joker, your best villain. That's why I thought The Dark Knight was so smart. You had this epic confrontation between Batman and the Joker, and the Joker doesn't die. So I'm like, you've got that. Now, granted, they never went back to, and who knows if Heath Ledger hadn't died. Who knows? The Dark Knight Rises might have been back. Probably would have been back.
A different movie.
Yeah. And so to me, that's like grabbing the number one villain for somebody and just you're firing that bullet way too soon. That's what it seems like. And it just seemed dumb the way he kind of slid down a building and then slid into the frame, and I was just like, oh no. Not Doom, no. And I think it looks a lot like Doomsday.
It could be. I don't know.
I mean, it doesn't look exactly like Doomsday, but
I mean, with how they're to me, it's just all the painstaking that they're doing to make these characters look like their comic counterparts. And you're going to feed us this for Doomsday? Like the Smallville Doomsday looked better and more like Doomsday than this does.
Yeah.
Huh, I didn't know Doomsday was in Smallville.
He was.
Yeah, he was.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's one of those episodes that could be cherry-picked for you.
Fair enough.
And
who
knows where it goes?
Yeah, I mean, not that you have to follow the origin stories of everybody exactly, but
it's impossible, too. There's so many.
Doomsday is not a creation. Doomsday is like he was born like on ancient Krypton, like under the earth, like or under the ground.
Well, I think it depends, doesn't it?
I think there's
a lot of different origin stories with Doomsday.
No, like his original. He was like the depths of Krypton. He's born. He's this.
Yeah, I know.
But and somebody an alien, like this alien scientist, comes and takes him to another planet, and like exposes him to it, and he dies. And then he grabs him, uses his DNA, makes a new Doomsday, puts him back there, and watches over just tons of time this being evolve, get stronger and stronger and stronger, until eventually it kills everything, and that's Doomsday. But like the original thing that was Doomsday it has roots in Krypton. That's why it has kryptonite in like part of its body. So Yeah, I don't know. I forget all that even. Just the way that the trailer came across, it just did not.
After seeing the third trailer, you really wish that second one never came out.
Yeah, dude, that third trailer, everything about that third trailer, I was like, oh man, dude, everything. Yeah. Wonder Woman looks fucking awesome. Batman looks fucking awesome. Superman looks fucking awesome. Lex Luthor, we'll give him a chance. You know, I mean, but that's, I just wish they would have, you know, like you said, never given us that second trailer.
And who else is in this movie? Aquaman?
Yeah, there's rumors that he's going to be in it. Yeah, Jason Momoa.
You don't know?
He was on set at some point in time, but you're not seeing anything.
Which
other
you got to
than a
think.
picture.
There's the Flash as well. The Flash is supposed to be part of all this as well.
And that's the wild card in the whole thing, because they can do whatever they want, and Flash is your reset button.
Yeah.
You know, so like they could do something and then it not work out the way you want. They could.
He runs really fast, and we just fucking.
They could Flashpoint paradox this shit, and we have a whole new.
And what about was it Hawkman or Hawkeye? Hawkman.
Hawkman, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Green Arrow. I don't know. Are any of these guys going to be in it?
See, that's kind of we don't know, because they've already said what they're telling us. This is we're going on kind of the whole UFP podcast conspiracy thing here, but that's what they're telling us, is that these are separate.
Good man.
They're separate in their entities. The TV's one thing because of ownership rights. Okay. The movie's doing their own thing.
Okay.
But like I said, the Flash is your wild card.
Sure.
Because the Flash exposes the DC universe to multiple Earths.
Yeah. Yes, he does.
There's more than one.
Yeah.
So they could eventually intertwine these, and they could use the TV properties. But they are telling us that they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
But the Flash TV show, honestly, it's so fucking good when it comes to CW or TV superhero stuff. It's like, I was a little upset when I saw that they casted a Flash, because I'm already invested in this Flash. Like, it's good.
Yeah.
I love it. But we'll see what they do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably going to go see this movie just because of that third trailer. That third trailer, like when the first trailer came out, there was like a first trailer and then like a little bit of a teaser as well. Mm-hmm. Like one where I think it was just like Batman hanging up and like Superman comes in and pulls his cowl off, and that was like the whole trailer. That was like a little teaser, and I was like, okay. And then there was the first actual trailer, and I was like, okay, yeah, this looks interesting. I'm curious to see where it goes. Second trailer comes out, I'm like, nope, this movie's gonna fucking blow. Not into it. Don't care. Nope, I'm good.
I don't care about trailers, man.
And then the third trailer dropped, and now I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give it a shot.
Outside of the second trailer, I don't know how you could market this movie any better. I mean, in reference to, they built a narrative within the information they released. Everything it's impossible for Batman. For the first, two trailers, it's like, if I wanted you dead, I'd have done it already.
Yeah.
And then it's everything like, he's just a man, there's no way. And then that third trailer, They finally give you something of Batman. Because before that, there was no combat. It was him, like, ducking out of a corner, and you just get to see the figure.
Yeah.
But then the third trailer, it's like,
Batman.
Motherfucker can throw down.
Yeah, he just stopped. Superman just tried to punch him, and Batman stopped it.
And that's what they end you on. That's their go-home shot, where it's just like, well, Superman threw him through a building. This is exactly what we thought was going to happen. And then he blocks that punch. He gives a smirk. Now everybody's going to this fucking movie. Because how does he do it?
Yeah.
2, can he do it?
Yeah.
And money's going to play a role, because
Batman
Batman is your cash cow for the DC universe. As interesting as all these other characters are, he's your cash cow.
Yeah.
Really, it's very likely that they could bump a Justice League movie back to give you a solo Batman movie, because they know the solo Batman movies are going to generate that much.
Sure. Well, and I thought there's something that's kind of cool. I don't know, have you seen the ads? I've seen them online. The Turkish Airlines ads.
Yeah.
For Bruce Wayne and
Clever
Lex Luthor.
Little,
I thought those were. I was watching some YouTube video, and like that came up as an ad, and I was like, it's always like, you gotta wait 5 seconds and you can skip it, because I don't have ad blocker because I'm an idiot. But so I'm sitting there waiting that 5 seconds. I got my mouse hovering over that. And then, like, I see Ben Affleck pop up, and he's like, at Wayne Enterprises. I was like, wait, what?
Why is Ben Affleck brooding on a plane?
Yeah, I was like, what is I was like, Ben Affleck owns Turkish Airlines? And like, so, like, yeah, I thought I was like, that's fucking clever as hell.
Yeah, and it's this whole idea with this version of the cinematic universe is that they want it to be believable, you know, and that's something that they're kind of stressing is that they're putting real life situations, scenarios, and wrapping this world around it. At the big Comic-Con in San Diego, the provider of the Wi-Fi was Luther Corp. You had to log on to Luther Corp and get updates, and then they're releasing they're releasing magazine articles and interviews with not the actor but the character, telling you bits of a story, giving you financial breakdowns of Queen Industries and Wayne Enterprises and LexCorp, and telling you where they're going, and then how downhill Wayne Enterprises is going is because they're investing all this money in development stuff for the military that the military never gets. Yeah. So they're down this amount of dollars, and whatever happened to Bruce Wayne, and
it's all savvy marketing,
right? Yeah. And it's all being done fairly well. I'm loving it because I'm just like, oh, what's the next thing? Oh, cool, I'll click here. Oh, it's this next thing that I learned a little bit of the movie. All these like Doritos putting out comic book precursors, which those are actually pretty good. Like Dr. Pepper and Doritos, they put out like kind of individual comics about you get what Batman's doing before the movie. Like what he's doing, how he's learning this. You get Superman, like the which is probably the best one, is from a senator's point of view, them discussing how they should handle the Superman situation. Okay. Like we can't control him.
What do we do?
We have to figure out what his motives are. Yeah. We have to know a way to take him down in case he goes rogue.
Kind of like the first movie. Like, is he a good guy, or is he with us, or is he an alien?
I think this is a perfect time to bring up, when we were over doing the last podcast, the NES podcast over at Steve's house, he brought something up, which something he didn't like about how they were portraying the conflict between Batman and Superman, which was that Batman was saying, if there's a 1% chance that he's our enemy, we have to treat it as 100% certainty. Like, we have to take him out because he can destroy the whole human race. And he was kind of like, that's not, and he didn't like that because he was like, that's never been in the comics. That's never been the impetus for why Batman and Superman tangle. It's always been, usually, and these Frank Miller ones are a good example, Batman or Superman basically telling Batman, like, you aren't allowed to fight crime the way you do. I fight the crime. And it's always been Batman saying, like, who the fuck are you? I don't care if you're Superman or not. I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and, you go ahead and try to stop me. And that's kind of, now granted, there's been some pressures on Superman, like, being kind of a lackey for the U.S. government or being manipulated by Brainiac.
Too much of a Boy Scout.
Yeah. And so he was kind of like, man, that was the perfect thing to do, is to have Superman be like, and they do kind of touch on it a little bit, like whenever Clark Kent's talking to Bruce Wayne, like, you've got this vigilante running amok in Gotham and blah, 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 blah. And he's kind of like, like Ben Affleck, Bruce Wayne kind of says, like, that's kind of funny coming from you, every time, your guy does something, you write a puff piece editorial, about how he, saved a cat from a tree, but, he could have, burned the whole damn town down or something like that. And I think that it's just kind of, I agree with his kind of like, they didn't even need to bring into the whole fact that Batman or that Superman could kill the whole human race. But I do think it's kind of cool how it looks like they're tying together, like Wayne Industries had a building in Metropolis that got destroyed in Man of Steel. You didn't see it at the time. That's what it seems like.
When him and saw a satellite get destroyed, that was Wayne Enterprises. In Man of Steel.
Oh, you do see that?
There's a satellite that gets taken
but
down.
It looks like that's, I don't know, but it looks like from the trailers that's where they're going with this, saying like that, when General Zod and Superman were fighting, one of the buildings destroyed was Wayne Enterprises building, and a lot of Bruce Wayne's employees died, and that's
people close to him died.
Yeah, and that's where Bruce Wayne kind of, and Batman get into this to go like, this guy's a fucking problem because look what this guy has, a fist fight, and look what happens. So
he's the defender of the weak and powerless, and now everyone is. So, and apparently there's a lot of shit that he's dealing with. I mean, you walk by, you see the Robin case. He apparently has lost people too.
Yeah.
And
some Joker shit in there too. Yeah,
there is on the suit. It's the joke's on you.
Yeah.
Is what the suit says.
Yeah.
And so he's reminded of all these things every day, I'm assuming. And he there's a red button. Somebody's going to push it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He has to get to that button first and do what he has to do. Yeah. Now, I really hope they don't turn him into the Punisher.
Yeah.
That's one thing I'm a little worried about. You see him carrying guns.
Yeah.
You know, but again, there's no context to this, so we don't really know what these bullets are for.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, and I've always kind of thought it's funny whenever people are like, Batman doesn't use a gun. And I'm like, you're right. He doesn't use a gun. However, he does use exploding batarangs. Yeah. You know, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, maybe? I'm not saying Batman needs to be out there with an Uzi, but I'm saying if for a split second Batman has a gun in his hand, I don't immediately go, you know, oh, no, all credibility lost. Yeah. So I'm like, Batman will employ some explosive shit.
He's got some kryptonite bullets.
He'll do what it takes.
Batman's thing is he just won't kill people. Batman doesn't kill people.
Again, and that's I mean, all of these comics started out with the heroes killing people. Yeah. I mean, it's just what we're accustomed. I actually had a pretty good discussion about this today with a friend of mine. It's just a matter of what adaptation you're accustomed to or that you've embraced.
Sure.
You know, and a lot of people now, it's the Nolan stuff that they embrace. Like that's Batman to them. Their minds gonna be fucking blown. I mean, when it comes to like Batman, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like motherfucker never came through a roof and cleared a room of 24 armed hostiles in any of those movies. We're about to see that.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't want him to go the route of the Punisher, but it depends on the context. Like if he's taking a gun and he knows that this gun is going to at least deter something like a Doomsday or whatever that may be. Maybe that's what he's got to do. Maybe that's what he's got to
do. Yeah. So, and again, like I said, Batman using a gun for a minute is no big deal considering, like I said, he uses explosive batarangs. He has machine guns on the Batwing. You know, he's got machine guns on the Batmobile. You know, he's got explosive. I mean, it's not like Batman is just like, I just kick and punch people. No. Batman's got all kinds of gadgets and gizmos.
Toys, man.
Exactly. So I'm kind of like, you know, I get it. Batman with a gun is kind of doesn't look right. I get it. But like you said, in the right situation, I could totally see it. Like him picking up a gun and be like, oh, this guy's a fucking, you know, this motherfucker's name is Doomsday. I better pick up this Uzi for a second, you know, because...
Man. I mean, like I said, Batman's the only guy who's like, hey, hold on, y'all need a base? I got the satellite up in space.
Yeah.
You need a place to chill. Fuck it. Yeah. Got it.
Yeah.
He's got everything, man.
Yeah. Okay, so, I mean, I think in the end, I think we're all excited about the movie.
Oh, yeah.
That second trailer, I mean...
Rightfully so, as well.
But the third trailer, holy shit. Mm-hmm. It definitely, it did...
It sold a lot of movie tickets off that third trailer.
Yeah. It sold one to me. Yeah. So... Anyway, so I don't know. Do we have anything else we wanted to...
probably going to wrap up. I mean, that's pretty much it.
Okay, so escape velocity time.
Escape velocity time.
All right, so, Ryan, again, thanks for having us over here, man. Have to come back on again sometime when we talk about, I don't know, whatever topic we can all get together on. You have anything you want to say to everybody before we go?
No, like I say, it's been fun, so hope to be back soon.
Cool. Brad, never pencil him in again. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, this has been a lot of fun. So we're going to go ahead and blast off out of here. Let me go ahead and give our details one more time. UFPpodcast@gmail.com, at UFP on Twitter, and Unidentified Flying Podcast on Facebook. So until the next bat time and next bat channel, this has been Drew. And
this is Brad.
And you've been listening to the Unidentified Flying Podcast. Y'all have a good one.